I want to donate an airplane.
Exactly what was prophesied. I mean, that took me to a whole level, a whole different level with God.
I have goosebumps everywhere.
I literally shut the computer down and I reopened. I'm like, I can't, and the same thing popped up, and I was flipping through the website, just the same ad would pop up. And then I'm walking around my apartment in DC, my condo, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? My hands are shaking.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, completely flipping out, and it's like, answer the ad.
Yeah.
Most trafficking survivors have been in the life for, let's say, between 5 and 10 and maybe even longer years. Okay, so 5, 10, 15 years. And they're raped usually between 12 and 15 times a day. So let that just sink in for a minute. She just said, hey, I just want to thank you for saving them. No idea what that did and how that saved me.
Welcome to M-powerTV, where we leave a legacy of hope through conversations that uplift, educate, and inspire. Listen to incredible stories of people who overcame challenges and barriers, celebrate victories, learn from setbacks, and push forward together.
And you would hear all this torture, and then they would shoot.
Want to be empowered? Let's go. Subscribe for more and get this book now.
Hello and welcome to M-powerTV. My name is Lorna Greyling, and today in studio we have Ted Greenfield. Ted, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us all the way from Tampa.
Yes.
I wanted to say you were going to fly in with your fabulous airplane, but you drove in today. But thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
Invisible Angels. Tell us a little bit more about this. What is this beautiful organization and how did it come about?
So what Invisible Angels does is we provide transportation for human trafficking survivors from the point of rescue, and it allows them to go to medical facilities, to get to safe houses. We provide transportation for law enforcement, anything that's involved with human trafficking rescue and human trafficking transportation. And we also provide transportation for family reunification, and it's private air transportation. So it's not cars or buses or anything like that. And when I first dipped into this space, I quickly found out that transportation is the missing link in the recovery equation, because survivors are out there, but survivors, the bottom line is they have no family, they have really no friends, they have absolutely no resources, and they have no identification. So the issue is they have to get to safe homes, and for security and safety and to start a new life, these safe homes need to be about 1,000 miles away from the point of the problem.
Yes.
Because staying in the same environment is not going to help. So the trafficking safe homes started when I started calling them to find out more information about it. The safe homes said, we can't get these people, we can't get the survivors here. And the survivors, let's say they would be in Jacksonville, Florida, and they have to get out to Texas, or they're in Tampa or Miami and they have to get to Nashville, or they're in Nashville and they have to get to Tampa. And I thought, well, do you guys ever need private aircraft to transport your survivors?
Yeah. And I mean, they need a private aircraft because human trafficking, they come out of what kind of circumstances?
Well, this is Auschwitz level trauma, okay? So most trafficking survivors have been in the life for, let's say, between 5 and 10 and maybe even longer years, okay? So 5, 10, 15 years. And they're raped usually between 12 and 15 times a day. So let that just sink in for a minute. And it usually starts off with, prostitution, or, a low level friend, or getting into the wrong crowd. But it quickly grows from there. And the saddest part is that most trafficking survivors are trafficked by someone that they know, and that's usually a family member.
I get goosebumps when you say that, because I was just going to say, I know in your book you mentioned that some of the survivors, it was actually their own parents, their mothers, their fathers, that sold them off into human trafficking to pay rent, to buy drugs.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
I
kept
want
me
to
up at
cry
night.
when I say that. I mean,
Right.
you know, if I think of my own parents, how much they loved me and how I grew up, it is unthinkable. It's unfathomable. Unfathomable.
Right.
Is that the right word?
Yeah.
My English fails me today, but
Yeah.
you can't even imagine that, right?
No, I can't. And last week I was at the Shared Hope International Just Conference.
Yeah.
And the numbers are growing between 45 and 75% of trafficking survivors are trafficked by family members.
And this is in the US.
This is in the U.S.
You know,
These
we're
are
not
American
saying
kids. This
illegal
isn't,
immigrants.
No.
We're not talking about people coming from all other, it's not in different countries. We are talking United States.
This is Skokie, Illinois. This is Albany, Georgia. This is Nashville, Tennessee. This is Tampa, Florida. This is Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is Tyler, Texas. And I could go on. These are just the regular, normal towns that, that we're now operating in.
Did you know anything about this? What did you do before this?
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean, where did you come from? How did you get into being an invisible angel? Because you are an invisible, I mean, you fly in and you fly out like an invisible angel. Where did you come from?
So it all started in a Bible study in the Annapolis, Maryland area.
Okay.
And I was just in my Bible study. It was a new church. It was a new season for me.
Yeah.
And I was a pilot, and I was working at the Federal Aviation Administration. And this woman comes into the Bible study, and it was just a guest that no one knew, just last-minute guest that showed up.
Yeah.
And there was about maybe 12 of us in a room. And she says, I'm here to present on the human trafficking problem in Baltimore and Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you're making this up. I said, Now, I've lived in Kazakhstan, I've lived in Dominican Republic, in West Africa, I've lived in Europe, I've lived in different places, and I certainly know human trafficking is horrible in other parts of the world, but I had no idea it was even a thing here. I had no idea. So she sits down and she starts to give her presentation, and a few minutes into it, I'm like, oh, she's making this up. This can't be happening. This isn't real. And about 8-10 minutes into the presentation, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's telling the truth. This is really happening. And it just hit me like a wet bag of cement.
Yeah.
And it started to harden, and I thought, it literally kept me up at night, So I started digging around and looking around at places where maybe I can get involved, and I'm being a pilot, and I thought, well, maybe they need private aircraft to transport, everyone could use private aircraft. So I was digging around online, and I stumbled on a sermon by a gentleman with the name Lee Dominique, who runs an organization called Trafficking Hope.
Yeah.
And he just gave his sermon how he got started in it. He made a lot of money in the fast food industry, and I guess he owned a bunch of franchises. And he started an organization called Trafficking Hope. And I believe he also started a safe house called the Well House. And it was just his testimony I saw on YouTube. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just amazing. I got to call this guy. So I called. I think I was watching that on a Sunday, and I called them Monday morning. And I was in a government building, and I think it was some meeting or something, and I stepped into the hallway because I've got to call him. It was just on my mind all morning. So I called them, and I spoke with the director. And I said, hey, I'm just a crazy Christian guy with an idea here. Crazy Christian guy. If you think I'm nuts, hang up the phone. You'll never hear from me again. But if you don't think I'm nuts, you think this idea's got legs, let's keep on talking. And she said, yeah, okay. So I said, look, I'm a pilot. I'm with the Federal Aviation Administration. And do you guys ever need private aircraft to transport your survivors around? Let's say when they get rescued, or to get them to medical help. And, and I heard this thud. And I thought, oh, she dropped the phone or something. Or maybe she hung up,
Yeah.
And she goes, you have no idea what an answer to prayer this would be.
Wow.
And I said, wow, that's cool. She went on to tell me these horror stories of trafficking survivors that they would get rescued or get pulled off the street, or even get rescued from jails, because when trafficking survivors are picked up, they're usually picked up on drugs, weapons charges, because they're hanging around traffickers. They're identified a lot of times in jails from the social work programs that they have in there. And these are really wonderful programs. And she says, but we can't get them to where they need to go. We've got safe houses out in Texas and Illinois and Colorado and Wyoming and you know, in all different parts of the country, but we can't get them there. So she's telling me that sometimes they're driving 20 hours in their own vehicles, paying their own way.
Wow.
Well,
and they're in danger for
what could
20
go wrong there?
hours,
Yeah.
right? Because
Right.
these people can catch them again. At
Well,
any
yeah, they
time.
do re-engage, and
Yes.
and yeah, it's serious stuff. And we're not a law enforcement agency or anything like that, but you know, there is a level of security you need to be concerned about, especially driving. And then she told me one story of a trafficking survivor who was a witness to a double homicide, and she had to meet the police and identify and tell them where the bodies were buried, basically. And the drive was like 16 hours, and they just the two of them made that drive.
Oh my goodness.
So what could go wrong there? And she said, having a private aircraft to do that. I said, well, we could have got you there in a couple hours.
Wow.
So then from there, it turned into a 45-minute prophetic phone call, because what I quickly discovered is all these organizations are on fire, born again, praying for Jesus.
Wow.
I mean, just Holy Spirit-filled organizations that, and everybody, I mean, really, everybody has the same story that I do. They were in a Bible study, they were minding their own business, whatever, and then
Minding their own business.
right, and God,
But
you know,
God.
right, but God, and God said, you know, this is what you're going to be doing, and yeah, send me, I'll do it, absolutely, let's go. And so she prophesied over me on that phone call that I would be running an organization with a fleet of aircraft rescuing hundreds, if not thousands, of human trafficking survivors.
Wow.
And I'm in a government building with my hands raised, the cell phone here, speaking in tongues, just like, Lord, let it happen. I just really felt the Holy Spirit come on down.
Praise God.
And then I get off the phone call, and I remember just clicking, you know, ending the call, and I thought, oh, Lord, how's this going to happen? It's just like, I mean, it is so far beyond anything, you know, anything that I had ever done.
Yeah.
And I wasn't afraid of it, because I was like, oh, let's go. Let's go. So over the next few months, I just started calling people. And, hey, is anybody doing this? And just
So
calling
you
different...
suggested something before you had any means or...
Oh yeah,
or
no,
what?
I just had a
You just had a
cell phone.
brainwave and a cell phone.
Right, and I always say I just had a mouth and a cell phone, right?
I love
Right,
it.
it just-
And you were willing.
Well, you know, I'm always up for a good challenge. You know,
you're
it's just
so
like, all right,
funny.
let's go.
I love
so,
that.
So I just started calling, and and digging around online, and I talked to a couple people who tried to get something like this going.
Yeah.
And there was one sheriff, he was a retired sheriff or sheriff's deputy, and I think his name was Lonnie, and he's like, I tried to get this going, but it was so expensive. The FAA got involved. It was so hard. And then my plane broke down, and I just couldn't do it anymore. But it's so badly needed. And then I called a couple other places. Then I talked to one organization where the guy got as far as starting a nonprofit. And then he lost his medical. And for pilots, I don't know if you know this, but pilots need to have a medical exam every. There's class 3, class 2, class 1. And for class 2 medicals, we need to have our medical. We need to have a medical exam every year. And the guy had lost his medical, and if you lose your medical, you can't fly.
You're out.
Which makes sense. The FAA wants healthy pilots out there.
Of course, yes.
So he had this organization called Wings of the Way, but then he lost his medical. So it was just this, you know, this hard stop, and coincidentally, Wings of the Way was picked up by another person, and that's operational right now too. We run trips together. We're partners. So and I talked to a few other people, but there was just obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. I'm like, okay, well, I can avoid that. And then I'm like, oh wait, God put me at the FAA. I was a multimedia producer, producing safety training in the Directorate of Safety for the Federal Aviation Administration, plus I was a pilot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, I'm kind of in the camp here. I can navigate through all this stuff. And
Wow.
So then I really didn't hear from God for about the next 9 months. But I
Goodness.
kept on digging, you know, because I knew it
Yes.
was in me, and it didn't go away. Because everyone's like, oh, how do you know when it's God? How do you know when it's not? When it doesn't go away.
Yes.
And when it
Keeps
doesn't make any
knocking.
sense.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Because people were talking to me, and they're like, what? Ted, you're a Christian multimedia producer. You're a musician. You were a sailing instructor. You're a pilot. How does human trafficking fit into all this? And I'm like, I'll tell you later. I don't know. I have no idea. But this, and it doesn't go away.
It's pulling.
Right.
It's pulling.
So
Wow.
I'm in about 9 months later. I'm in a safety meeting at the FAA, and there's like 40 people in the meeting, and we're talking about like fencing on an airport or something, and just kind of boring, mundane meeting, but it's everything has to go through a safety panel at the FAA, and I hear God tell me invisible angels.
Wow.
And I'm like, and right away I knew God wanted me to buy the domain name invisibleangels.org. And I was sitting there and I'm like, God, that domain name is going to be $3,500. I don't have $3,500. You know I don't have $3,500. God said, buy the domain name invisibleangels.org now, please.
Wow.
So I politely closed my computer and I slipped out the back of the meeting, kind of nodded, and I very politely left the meeting and I walked down to my office. I'm like, Lord, I don't have $3,500.
Yeah.
I don't have $3,500. I'm a web developer. I'm a multimedia producer. We went through this, remember?
You're reminding God of everything you do not have.
And he's just like,
Sounds so familiar. It sounds like Moses, right?
Yeah,
Lord,
yeah,
I do not
right.
have this. I do not have the
I
ability.
can't do this. I don't, So I get in front of my, I'm in my office, I get in front of my computer and I open up my register.com account, I enter invisibleangels.org, and it pops up available $35.
35? No
$35.
way.
And I'm like, dum. So
Oh, that's amazing.
I hit purchase, I bought it immediately, and then God told me two things. Write a budget for this organization and speak life into it as if it's up and running.
Amen.
And I'm like, okay, I can do that. That's cool. That's all I did for the next 9 months. Just talked, just spoke life into it, wrote my budget, which actually kind of turned more into a brochure, but that's okay, And I just started, and what that did was really, what kind of insurance am I going to need? What kind of aircraft am I looking at? Because I couldn't do it in my airplane. And, all the other entities, and that was good. So another 9 months of nothing.
Sure.
Another 9 months of completely nothing. And then during that time, my dad had died and COVID happened, so life's turning upside down. And I'm down in Florida at an online Bible study this time, and I'm telling everybody about the vision for the organization. And anytime I got in front of a person, two kids and a dog, a goldfish bowl, I would tell them about invisible angels, right?
I love that.
Because it was just like, here's the vision for it.
Yes.
And it was like, wow, that's really cool. But it made no sense to me. Nothing made sense.
Yes.
So I'm in this online Bible study, and this guy pipes up, and he's a retired United Airlines pilot, and his name's Rob. And he goes, I got the perfect plane for you. I'm like, okay, cool. He goes, it's a Cessna P210 Centurion. 6 passengers, pressurized, turbocharged. It flies at flight levels. It's got a low fuel cost. It's the perfect airplane for you. And I'm like, oh, wow. So later on that night, I get on tradeaplane.com, which is a used aircraft website, and I look up Cessna P210s, and sure enough, they're between $250,000 and $500,000. They are the perfect plane for this type of mission. All right. Another 9 months of nothing.
Oh my goodness.
Speaking life into it, talking about it with my friends, and I'm not even wondering how it's going to happen at this point. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking life, and I didn't think, if I do this, then. I had no, those, how we have these if-then statements?
Yes.
If I do this, then you'll do this, God.
Yes.
It's not conditional.
Yes.
And your relationship with God is not a transactional relationship.
Yes.
So it's not, you can't have if-then statements. And I wasn't doing that.
Yes.
But I was just following the breadcrumbs. All right, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. Because every day, the breadcrumbs would get bigger. I'd hear a confirmation from God, or I'd hear something. All right, you're on the right track. Keep on going. So then I'm back up in D.C. 9 months later, and I catch a sermon by Stephen Furtick, When God Gives You the Green Light. And when I heard this sermon, I'm like, oh my gosh. I just literally, where's the blessings? I just felt
You just felt.
yeah, like, all right, the green
light.
light's coming.
Yes,
The green light's here. So later on that afternoon, I had that feeling all day long, and I get on tradeaplane.com, just look at airplanes, I was bored or something. And the first ad that popped up was a Cessna Centurion P210, just like Rob had prophesied 9 months earlier, and all the ad said was, I want to donate this plane to a nonprofit.
No way.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps everywhere. No way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I literally shut the computer down and I reopened. I'm like, I can't, and the same thing popped up, and I was flipping through the website and just the same ad would pop up. And then I'm walking around my apartment in DC, my condo, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? My hands are shaking.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, completely flipping out, and it's like, answer the ad.
Yeah.
Right? I email the guy. Oh yeah, I got to do that, right? So I email the guy, and my thoughts were crazy. I didn't, because I had never seen that before. I had never seen.
Yeah, right. I want to donate an airplane.
Exactly what was prophesied. I mean, that took me to a whole level, a whole different level with God.
Incredible.
So the next day, the guy calls me, and I was just like, Holy Spirit, Jesus, invisible angels, human trafficking, whatever. I was just
rambling.
Right? And he goes, son, slow down. I want you to have the airplane.
Wow.
So he was in Kansas City. I flew out to Kansas City. There's a long story there. You have to get the book to read it.
Yes. Beautiful book, by the way.
And he signed the plane over to me, and we started operations in 2021.
Ted, I absolutely love your book. God is in this fight, and he's in this flight as well. Yeah. I mean, getting an entire airplane, you make it sound so easy, right? 9 months went by, and then another 9 months went by, and then God said this and God said that. How was your relationship with God? Like, how do you know it's God? How do you hear God? How did you get to that stage where you can hear God's voice? Because prior to this, you were, you had an entirely different career. You were a line producer. What was your relationship like with God at that stage? And then what changed in your life so that you can hear God so clearly? I mean, was there a point in your life that what happened there?
And it's so key because all of us complain when John 15 happens to us. Mm. When we get those branches pruned. Mm. And we're like, oh, why is this happening?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Ouch.
Right. And one thing that I started noticing was that, let me back up way before the story in the book. Mm. In 2013, I had just turned 50. And when that happens, anybody who is past the age of 50 will agree with me. That is a monumental birthday because it's like, whew, it's just a number, whatever. But that was a point where I was a Christian musician. I was I've offshore bareboat charter sailing instructor. I've done a lot of things, traveled, lived in West Africa, and traveled a lot. And I remember sitting down at worship band practice, and they're all saying their kind of corporate prayers right before worship band practice, and there was a big band, so there's a lot of us there. And I remember just saying, oh, Lord, just take this next season of my life.
Wow. Because
I don't know what to do with it. Everything, any idea of mine is just going to end up, it's just not going to be productive. It's not going to bear any fruit. And I got to the point.
Did you have a lot of disappointments happen at that point? Why did you feel like that? Did you feel
because nothing, my walk wasn't producing any fruit. Now I have the luxury of looking at it from 13 or 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But at that point, I knew I was, and I will say this. I will say this to every Christian single person out there. I am sorry. Do not date non-believers.
Good advice.
Just don't do it.
Because a lot of people think they can change them afterwards.
Or it's clicking, it's working, but if it's working by worldly metrics. And I was in a wonderful relationship. It was great. We had been together for almost 10 years. But she wasn't putting Christ in her life.
Yeah.
And I remember one time she, you know, it was tax time or something, and she looked at my taxes, and she said, "You're giving. You gave away a ton of money last year."
Yeah.
I'm like, where did that come from? And I'm like, it wasn't mine to begin with.
Yeah, it's tithing.
It's tithing. It's
Yeah.
Malachi 3:10.
Yeah. Oh.
You can live and walk and breathe on that one.
Yeah.
And it just, it just wasn't right. It just didn't grip. And as that relationship was dwindling down, you know, and winding down, it really hit me. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm 50. I haven't figured this one out yet, right?
Yeah.
You know, not that I feel old or anything, but we do.
But it is.
We
It's
have
like
a clock here.
You have that phase
Right.
in your life, like, all right, well, I'm at this age, and now you kind of realize, well, I cannot go back. I need to go forward, and now,
It ain't working. You know, it's plain and simple. It isn't working. And I just said, Lord, I'm done. I don't, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm miserable. No, I'm happy. Everything's fine. But I can't keep on doing this. I'm not doing it right. That's when things started to happen.
Sure. So you
That's
just
when the
gave it to
pruning
God.
started, and it wasn't instant, you know, and it's continuous. But when, you know, faith isn't about striving. Faith is about surrendering.
I love that.
All right? So when you get up to a point that you can't strive and say, God, give me more faith, God will sit there and be like, when you're done, I'll be right here. You know, I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Faith isn't about, you can't strive your way. You can strive your way to get closer to God.
Yeah.
But to really get closer to God, you need to surrender, because it's Proverbs 3:4-5, lean not on your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge Him.
Yes.
That's all your ways, from how you turn on a light switch to how you change lanes in traffic to how you treat the Amazon delivery guy.
Yeah.
All your ways.
Absolutely.
So,
Amen. And faith comes by hearing and hearing.
and when you
and
surrender,
hearing
the more
the
you
word
lean,
of God, right?
right? And what I found myself. So then, I found a lot of my friendships and relationships were dissolving. Which was really odd, but at the same time, when it started to happen, I was like, "Yeah, I don't really need them in my life, you know." And I don't really need that. And at the time, I was kind of part-time living on my boat in Annapolis, and you know, part-time. I had a house in Maryland, and you know, so and Annapolis has been described as a town full of drunks with a sailing problem.
That's funny.
Okay, and drinking was a big part of that. And the story is in the book when God told me to quit drinking.
Yes.
And that was the most extreme, wild, angelic encounter I've ever had in my life, where an angel actually yelled at me.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I say in the book, God's chances never run out, but His warnings do.
Yeah.
And that was my final warning. And
that was a very profound moment, because in the book you really describe it, you know, I mean, God told you to stop drinking, and you kind of stopped. I love how you kind of stopped. But then you thought, well, maybe I'll just have a little bit of wine, right? Just occasionally.
It was with my dad.
With your dad, because it makes sense,
yeah,
right?
we enjoyed ourselves,
just a little
right?
bit, right? And just, I love how when God tells us something, because when you have a very profound path and you really have a vision, and God tells you something, and you know you want to be obedient, but you want to be partially obedient, the way that we like to be. We want to make God's way fit
it's like
into
going
our
79 in a
comfort.
70-mile-per-hour zone, right? It's the same thing. I was
It's
going
so
70. I wasn't
funny.
going that fast. You're still going over the speed limit.
Yeah, but then you were sitting in a restaurant, and literally tell the story.
So
Because it's so beautiful. I love how, you cannot leave this out.
So I was in this restaurant with my dad. My dad was 90 or 80. Yeah, he was 90 at the time.
Yeah.
And
so it calls for celebration.
Yeah, I mean,
none
and
of
also
this is like
right.
out of hand.
And
right?
my dad and I were close, but the first 40 years of my life, my dad and I didn't have a relationship. Read the book, you know.
Yes,
and that's normal. I think, you know, whatever. It was nothing outrageous or crazy, but it was just the normal father-son thing, right? So, so we got to be very close, and we would, and then when I found out and really discovered that we're the same person, and the problem was my problem, right? Because, you know, behavior change is not going to happen at ages 40, 45 and above. So you don't think it's going to happen in your dad who's 75 and 80. It's behavior modification is not going to work, right?
Yes.
So we got very close, and God had told me to stop drinking in 2018. And then I would come down to Florida to see my dad twice a month, and sometimes more. And we went out to this restaurant. I thought, I can have a glass of wine with my dad, Lord, right? I mean, I asked him, and I heard nothing. And I'm like, I'm going to have it anyway. And I had the glass of wine, and instantly I felt the Holy Spirit leave. Instantly, I just gone.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, but I kept on. You know, because it was a fun time. And surely, if it feels right, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, then the next night, the same thing, and it was the same kind of that same disobedience, and but we kept on drinking. We had a nice time. It was a really nice restaurant, and we're getting kind of loud and obnoxious, you know, whatever, and we would always play this game. You know, what happened if Kennedy lived, or what happened if Lincoln would have lived, or what happened? We'd rewrite history, and it was just a fun game we'd always play. So I'm sitting there, and I think we had like a bottle at this point, and then I see this really tall, ugly man, but I see him from the back, but he was like Lurch from the Addams Family.
Oh my goodness.
Really, really weird, just dark looking, right?
Yeah.
But he wasn't evil, but it was just this really weird looking guy, and he was wearing in a black suit. And he was pushing a woman in a wheelchair, and she had got this kind of fake red hair, and I didn't see her face, but there was some weird thing about their presence. And I was sitting there, and my dad was like right in front of me, and you know, and these people were walking over this way, and I noticed that they're walking toward a really nice table in the restaurant, but the table just had it just had a tablecloth on it, no silverware, nothing. Huh. And I'm like, I didn't remember seeing that in the restaurant. And the restaurant's really nice. And I'm watching them, and my dad's talking. And then I look at this guy, and he just had a weight about him. And then he turned to me, and he yelled. He looks at me, and he locks eyes, like laser locked at me. And I'm like, and he goes, I told you to stop.
Wow.
He yelled in the restaurant. And oh my gosh, I'm so dead. That's right. I was just like, I am in so much trouble. I was like the 10-year-old who just got caught. And I looked up, and my dad's still talking. And I look around the restaurant, and no one noticed the yell.
Wow.
And I look down again. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You are exactly right. And I looked up, and they were gone.
Sure.
And the table was gone.
Wow.
Gone. And I'm like, and I haven't touched a drop since.
Wow.
I just, no way, because, you know, I mean, yeah. That
Praise
just.
God.
And.
Obedience, right?
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, God knows me. I mean, you know, my parents would do that when I was little. You know, they'd have to tell me 50 times to do something, you know. But when at that 49th or 15th time, they'd start to get it. Now, we can't lean on that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Because when God tells you to do something once, that's what he means.
Yeah.
And also, if God's silent on a matter, if you're praying about it and things, and, oh, I haven't heard, well, God's already usually stated what he wants on that matter.
Yeah.
And so in the times of God's silence, that answered a whole lot of questions. Oh, you've already told me what to do. He's not going to tell you again.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to think of that parental relationship. Yeah. You know, your dad's not going to tell you, or mom's not going to tell you, put down the iPad, put down the iPad, put down the iPad, put down the iPad, put down the iPad. They're only going to say it once.
Yeah.
Then you're going to lose your iPad.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Oh man, but we need to hear it so many times. We're just like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
And
we're
causes
in
the
this
focus.
in this life, right? Where
Right.
we have learned or we haven't learned, right, to hear it once and obey. Because where we're at in this life, it's just like we're used to hearing over and over and over, and we need to learn to hear it once and obey and go with it. But yeah,
and we're wired for that.
Good advice.
We're wired for that, but we're not in a state of readily accepting that. We are wired to hear from God.
Yes.
So what really, that was a huge pruning, because in the beginning, when God told me to quit drinking, I was out with my friends in Annapolis Friday night, out for margaritas, and I had the margarita up here, and I hear God just told me, for what I have prepared for you, I need you of sober mind.
Yes.
And I put down the drink and I said, but I like a Cabernet and a steak. That's
I know.
why I never said that. I was like,
Yes.
And God said, for what I have prepared for you,
Yes.
I need you of sober mind. And then the whole restaurant went muted. And I looked around, and it was like just someone turned the volume way, way down. And I looked around, and what hit me is everyone is spending God's time foolishly. Nothing wrong with having a great time of fellowship with your friends and everything like that, but you're out at a bar, the language is flying, everyone's there. And I looked at my friends, and I just thought, oh my God, they're being foolish with their time. I'm being foolish with my time. So I got up and left.
God has called you for so much more.
Right.
And it's almost like time is running out, right? There's nothing wrong with having a good time.
Welcome to 50.
But you have been called for so much more. And you've had your time of having fun, but now God has called you for more.
And not that this isn't fun, because I can't
this
tell
is
you.
fun, exactly, yeah. I mean, you just got a plane.
Well, it's going to get more, and the stories are getting, there's phase 2 of this story, because what happened after we started operations in 2021. We did a bunch of flights. I think we did 4 or 5 flights, which was great. And then we got a call from Homeland Security, and they said, we have a young child who was abducted by the father, put into a child pornography ring. Would you be able to collect the mother, and fly up, go to the city where the agent is with the young child, and then get them back to their home city. And we said, yeah, we had the child home by lunch the next day. And the Homeland Security was like, this is amazing, because they're not in the transportation business. I mean, government is siloed, so Homeland Security can do a wonderful thing, and they can arrest the people. And they said, the agent told me the father and the teacher will never see the light of day again. But they can't get them back to where they need to be. They're not in the transportation business. So we did the trip with, I think, 12 hours notice, and we got it all taken care of. Everything went beautifully. So I was telling people at work about it the next day or a couple days later at the FAA, and they said, well, we'd love to do a story, and to the internal public relations people. And our employees are doing awesome things and everything. So they did a story on invisible angels, and I thought, oh, that's great. Maybe we'll get more donations, whatever. And the story went out, and a few days later, I get a call from the Washington, D.C. Flight Service Directorate Office. And you don't want to get a call from these people. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe they're just calling to congratulate me, right? It's just being optimistic. Yeah, they weren't. They called up and they said, Mr. Greenfield, how are you doing these flights? This is great. There's a wonderful humanitarian mission here, but how are you doing them? I said, well, we're doing it under Part 91 FAR charitable flights. And they said, no, actually, you're operating an illegal airline. And we're charging you, we're opening a compliance action against you, which is kind of like federal charges. And I'm looking at $1.4 million in fines. It was $200,000 for every flight. $200,000 fine. They can take away the plane. They can take away my pilot's license. Plus, where do I work? So this is like working for the sheriff's department and selling weed out of your car. This is really bad. And I was just like, oh my God, you told me what's going on.
Yeah.
This is God said, don't worry, just tell my story. And I had that Philippians peace come over me. Wow. Like, oh my gosh. And I had a whole bunch of friends at the FAA that knew what I was doing and everything. And it was just, I just had that Philippians piece. The story is very long and complex, and it's in the book, but it is one of the biggest miracles it was a bigger miracle than getting the airplane. Plus, I'll explain later, it set us up for a really unique business model. So the hearing happens, and they email me later. I have to get a lawyer and everything. And so they send me the hearing date. I had to get an attorney. We prep for the hearing date. It's a really big deal. And the hearing comes, and the first question they ask me, Mr. Greenfield, tell us how Invisible Angels started. And I leaned into the computer. It was a Zoom meeting, and I go, do you guys believe in Jesus?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know why I said that. I mean, you don't say that to 6 or 7 government regulators, you know. You just, But I was just like, do you guys believe in Jesus? And they all just stared at me. And then I told them the whole long story from the Bible study, just like the story I'm telling you, and all the micro miracles that happened. People gave us, we got, all the funding came from one small YouTube post,
Wow.
And they're like, this is amazing. And then I told them about the survivors we had rescued, given transportation to, and they're like, this is amazing. Well, we're going to get back to you. We're going to get back to you. So the hearing ends. My lawyer says, look, they're going to get back to you in about 9 months. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you have a lot of 9-month waiting periods, right?
So bring that up later.
Yeah.
Because this is really important, the 9-month thing. So I was like, okay. So 3 weeks later, I get an email. And they said, we've come to our decision. Here's a new hearing date. I have to get my lawyer on, So my lawyer hears this, and he's like, oh, this is bad news. This is an early jury return. This,
Not good.
This isn't good. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. It's. I don't know if it's good or not good, but this is so unusual. That I want to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So the hearing starts, and they said, Mr. Greenfield, we truly believe this was an oversight on your part. We're dropping all the charges against you.
Wow.
Boom, 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 boom. In 10 seconds, everything's gone. And they said, but to continue, you have to be what's called a Part 135 direct air carrier. You can't operate as a private citizen in this, because they pointed out some things that I did not know. Number one, the liability of doing this as a private citizen is immense. Number two is that if we give a ride to somebody, 6, 7, 10 years later, that person can come back and said, I never wanted to go to Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
And that's a federal kidnapping charge. That has to be defended. You need the protection of being a direct air carrier, a Part 135 operation, so you can operate under the federal laws, which completely protect you. Also, then you don't have any liability if you get your proper releases and done. Let's say something happens, or something you're just like any other. You're like a Southwest or a Delta, or an air carrier with an air carrier certificate. And I said, that's fantastic, but that's going to take 4 years and about $500,000. And I mean, you have to get invited by Congress practically to become an air carrier. And they said, well, we can't really help you legally, but we're going to help you. And so they really bent over backwards, and we got the process done for free for 18 months. In 18 months. And when I say for free, you don't have to pay the FAA anything to become an air carrier. That's all free, but all they're interested in is in safety. So, but what you do have to pay are the lawyers and everything for writing all the compliance documents, because our compliance documents, I'm not kidding, they're like this. You need a compliance document to show the FAA how you're going to comply with every Part 19, 91, and 121 and 135 regulation. That document's a 550-page document.
I can't imagine.
And how are you going to comply with every federal regulation? Then you need a hazmat compliance manual, because you can't carry hazardous materials. Then you need training manuals. How are you going to train the people that are going to work for you? So it's, and then they have to inspect the aircraft. So they come to the inspection and they tear the aircraft apart, and it goes into an FAA Part 135 inspection, which the first one that we had, It had never been through an FAA Part 135 inspection. It was $55,000.
And God just did all that.
And God provided everything. And again, you're not paying the money to the FAA. You're paying it to the maintenance shop that's doing that.
Yeah.
And it has to go to a specific maintenance shop that is a certified Part 145. And also, and many people don't know this, so our aircraft is inspected every 100 hours of use.
Sure.
That's a safety regulation. Plus, every year it goes through what's called an annual inspection, where the whole plane is torn apart and they're looking for little cracks, anything, tightening screws. That's very expensive. And then every year I have what's called an annual oral exam. So I sit down with an aviation safety inspector and he grills me for about 2 hours on every single regulation, on all the new regulations and everything. There's just an oral exam on weather, on engine issues, on engine fires, on flying between different warm fronts and cold fronts and stationary fronts, and what happens if this happens, what happens if this. Plus, we're restricted what's called a daytime VFR operation, so we only fly in good weather during the day, which is great because you don't want to be flying in bad weather anyway.
Yes, exactly.
And then I have a check ride at the same time, so I have the same aviation inspector, or maybe a different one, will come in there, and we'll take off and we'll go flying for a couple of hours and we'll go over engine fires, landing gear issues. They just drill me on all these emergency procedures. We shoot a couple of instrument approaches, they sign me off. So they're just interested in safety. Plus I now have to have a Class 2 medical. So my safety standards and Invisible Angel safety standards are just like with any other regulated airline, which is good.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's all they're interested in. Now, when that happened, I was like, God, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do this? I can't believe you're making me do this. There's so much work. And the miracles came out. All these people did all this work for free, and there was all these companies that came in, and the money just appeared for all the maintenance issues.
Ted, you've got a very unique business model with a nonprofit and a flight carrier, right? Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
So right now we can offer we can actually charge for flights.
Yeah.
But it's also a donation on the passenger's end.
Yeah.
So that makes it very attractive to do that. But also we can offer flights we're based out of Tampa, so we can conveniently do anywhere in Florida. We only have a 6-passenger plane right now, but we only really want to use, it's really very comfortable for 2 people.
Okay.
But right now we're really praying for it, and we really need a larger aircraft because what's happening to us right now is we're getting a lot of requests to go from like Boston, or from Naples to Boston. We had a survivor with 2 children, 2 toddlers, and she needed to get to Boston from Naples. That's a trip that's really hard to do in a 6-passenger aircraft that only goes about 200 miles an hour.
Okay.
So then we had a request to go from Eau Claire, Wisconsin to Homer, Alaska. We got a lot of requests to go from Tampa to Dallas and the Houston area, which we can do. It's just a long day. So we really need a plane that could do, from here to Boston and back in a day. And then also we need something that could really travel at speeds at around 400, 450 miles an hour. And our aircraft right now has a ceiling of 25,000 feet, which is great. We can get over the weather with that. However, the aircraft is a 1980 aircraft, and the oxygen system, you can't really replace it. It doesn't make sense to replace it. So the FAA has limited us to 10,000 feet and below. Okay. So that's great, but in Florida, in the summertime, you need to get higher to get over these storms, because it's thunderstorm city in the afternoon. So we really need a Pilatus PC-12 or a TBM 700. And those airplanes range from $3 to $4 million for a good one used. And
so we're putting it out there, right?
Yes.
And we'll see what God does. Right?
And if the first one God knows what we need.
Yes. And He's provided. It's supernaturally.
It's just another zero on what He's already provided. So if anybody's
watching right now, if you have a spare aircraft, right? Just standing around, if you don't mind.
Well, the people who
Because you guys have phenomenal stories. Do you want to share 1 or 2 of your stories that you've had, and are you allowed to share some of the stories?
Yeah, there was one that it's the first story in the book.
Yeah.
And we picked her up it was in Florida, and we had to take her pretty far north, almost to the Canadian border. And I think she had been in prison for a while, just because she was, around traffickers, and that's what happens. What happens to many of the survivors is that they will complete a safe home program for 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, but after they complete that program, the record is expunged. So they don't have a criminal record anymore.
Oh, that's
which is wonderful, right? So we picked her up, and we took her. It was a normal Florida winter morning, nice and beautiful, 75 degrees, no humidity.
Perfect.
And I remember she was drinking this Starbucks coffee, and she hadn't had Starbucks in quite a while, so she was really kind of savoring it, and get everybody in the plane, and get them in the plane kind of quickly, and shut the door. We're taxiing out, and I'm like. And I love the smell of coffee on an airplane, like if you're taking a flight that, early in the morning. So I was like, oh, that smells so good, Yeah. And so we took her way far north. It was a long day. And then when she got out, as we were descending, the victim advocate from Sail of Freedom was texting with the new rescue, with the safe home. So they had met us right out on the tarmac. They wanted a really quick handoff, so we taxied over to the private terminal. They were right there, shut the engine down, and get out, and they came, few thank you, goodbyes, hellos, and all that, and then less than 2 minutes they're off walking away, and I was just kind of getting the airplane ready and getting stuff, we were tired, and I, out of the corner of my eye, saw her turn around and come back. And I thought maybe she forgot something on the plane or whatever. And she just said, hey, I just want to thank you for saving my life.
Wow.
You have no idea. And I was just stunned. And she turned around and walked off.
Sure. And
I said to Nicole and Brian, the co-pilot and the victim advocate, I said, well, doesn't get any better than that. Let's go get a steak. So we found an Outback, and we had a nice dinner that night.
And it's truly what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
You're saving actual lives.
And
you're literally changing the generations also, right? Because once you save a life and you're changing a whole generation, this is a life that is now able to lead a new life, right? That's not needing to go into this spiral of where they're at, right? This is beautiful, what you're doing.
You don't know what hangs in the balance. You don't know what effect you're going to have 2 or 3 minutes from whenever you answer God's call, or be obedient, or open the door for someone. I've had someone, one of the craziest stories in my life, I was working at Voice of America. Before I was at the FAA, I was at Voice of America. And when I had first gotten there, I was walking down the hall, and this woman was walking right by me, and I just said, hey, how are you? Just said hi. And she kind of looked at me like this and just was like, had this really sad look on her face, whatever, and I didn't think about it. About 6 months later, I'm sitting in my office, and I hear this. I'm like, yeah, come on in. And she said, I have been looking for you for the longest time. And I'm like, oh, what did I do? I'm just like, oh, I got in trouble again. What did I do?
Yeah.
And she goes, about 6 months ago, you said hi to me.
Wow.
And you have no idea what that did and how that saved me. I just want to thank you.
Wow.
And she turned around and walked away. And I'm like,
we don't even know
you
sometimes.
have no idea the struggles people are going through.
These stories, I know the call that God called me for is, to share testimonies, because it's by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony that we overcome the evil one, right? And I have had emails and stories and testimonies from people saying that you have no idea how that story or that story or that story have saved my life or impacted my day, or, And so we just never know how our stories can save someone's life or change someone's day, but even just a hi, even just a kindness, a hug. I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I had a studio guest on Saturday, and he had a Christian. He was the head of the Satanic Church, and a Christian hugged him out of nowhere. She came from behind and she hugged him And if he had seen her coming, he would have pushed her away, but he didn't see her coming. But she hugged him with the love of Jesus Christ. And at that stage, he said he looked horrendous, like nobody could come near him. He was so full of evil. But she just hugged him. And he said he had never experienced that kind of love, right? And later on in his life, he actually met Jesus. And the only reason why he recognizes Jesus, why he believed that it was Jesus, because of the hug of that Christian lady, because he recognized the same love.
Footprint.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was like, all right, I recognize this love. And so we don't even know, like sometimes it's a hi or a hug, but it's necessary that we're obedient. It's
And
so powerful.
And everyone has a mission. Everyone has a ministry. A friend of mine who actually was a pilot, and he said, "Oh, I really want to be a missionary. I really want to be in missions. I want to be doing mission work." And I'm like,
"This is a mission every single day."
I said before I was in, when I was working at the FAA, I retired in February. I said I had this great mission, and it came with It came with health insurance, I mean, I was like, that's where God put me.
Yes.
And and it really came with healthcare. I mean, and
we just don't always realize it, right?
Yeah, because mission isn't working at a church, or mission isn't doing what I'm doing now, running Invisible Angels. Running Invisible Angels is it's the most difficult job I've ever had to do. It is the hardest thing I've ever had to do because there's a lot of work to it. And I'm very excited, and I love it, and I love new challenges, and I feel like I'm 25 years old and back in that startup game.
Wonderful.
But this isn't easy. And there's a ton of federal regulations you've got to deal with. Now, the big question, we're in the middle of this government shutdown. The aircraft is in maintenance right now. When the aircraft comes out of maintenance, and there's, I can't remember what the exact date is. It's around the first week of November. I'm due for a check ride in my oral exam with the FAA. Well, they're all shut down now. So we can't operate until the government shutdown ends.
So many obstacles all the time.
Right. And and then if we do operate, then we're in violation of federal law. So you don't want to do that. So there's a lot of red tape. It's very expensive. We're always, we're not out there asking for $20 or $25. We're asking for $250,000. We're going to be asking for $4 million. So it's, and I'm not afraid of it or anything like that, but it's quite a mountain to climb. And it isn't. But God has called you to whatever it is. It's going to be on a 45 degrees walk uphill. You're going to be walking uphill, but you will, it's just like great exercise, because all you have to do is the walk. God will provide everything else. You just have to go. You just have to say, send me. And how you know it's God is when you don't want to do anything else.
Sure. Powerful. What's the best advice that you can give someone that you've learned through this journey?
You don't know what you think you know. Meaning that you can't come into the atmosphere of God with any kind of pride. You can't come, and we all do.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because it's going to be $3,500. I know what a domain name costs. I've had so many. I want a drink. Okay, I can have one drink. And God will start to prune that. When God prunes that, don't fight it, because what's on the other side, there's two truths about it. You don't know what's there. That's the scary part. But it's going to be better, because God's never going to lead you into something that's worse. And in the Bible it says 365 times, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
One for every day of the year.
Right.
And that's the biggest command in the Bible, fear not.
Yes.
And then it takes this surrender. And I can't do that. Yeah, you can. Or I'm not qualified. Of course you're not qualified. I'm not qualified to do this.
Yeah.
And also it's not going to make any sense. And then really step in, really lean forward. Don't lean on your own understanding, but step on the gas and expect crazy things with God, because That's how he operates, because he's the only explanation for what happened. And your testimony, I'm out here talking about the testimony of invisible angels. That's all I'm doing since I've written the book. And people are blown away by the story. And your testimony might not be like invisible angels, but it's going to be something that has the equal amount of gravity to it. Whether it's opening up, Save the Puppies Farm, or you're just giving rides to seniors so they can go to CVS and get their medicines.
Yeah.
Or I think a great ministry would literally be giving rides to older people who just can't drive or don't want to drive or shouldn't drive. Right.
Especially in Florida. Hey, man.
Exactly, right. It's like, no, start a ministry, get these people off the roads.
Every time I go out of a parking area, I've got to look 1,000 times behind me.
Or they're taking 55 minutes to get into a single backup space. It's like, oh my gosh.
Hey, man, I just want to say, you're 50, I'm close to 50. We're getting up there. So
right.
we need to...
Yeah, it's like, I tell you, So, but that's the thing is that it's Proverbs 3:4-5. Don't lean on your own understanding, because what you think you don't.
Amen.
And I talk to so many people, and I think this, and I think no. You're talking to God. Don't be an idiot.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that. Ted, you've been amazing. I can sit with you for hours, but we have literally run out of time. Lastly, where can people find you? And obviously, help donate a plane if you can book a ride, and prayer. I'm sure you need prayer.
Number
and
one,
support,
pray.
And
Number one, pray for the safety of invisible angels. Pray for the maintenance of the aircraft. Pray for a wall of protection, a ring of fire around this organization, 1,000 feet thick and 1,000 feet high. And then number two, people say, I only can give $25. That's not going to help. Yeah, but if 1,000 people do it, that's going to go a long way.
Amen.
So yes, give your $25 to invisibleangels.org under the Donate tab. If you want to read the whole story, it's called God is in This Fight. Go to godisinThisFight.com.
Yes.
Or just go to the Our Story tab on the Invisible Angels, and then you can find all about us on invisibleangels.org.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
So much. And that is it from me, Lorna Greyling and M-powerTV. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our episodes. You have got to watch it in the YouTube app. Leave us a comment if you like the episode. If you don't like the episode, leave us a comment as well. You have got to read this book. It is filled with phenomenal miracles. If you feel like you need a touch from God, if you need inspiration, if you don't know that God still does miracles, read this book. You will be blown away by it. And until next week, goodbye.